So, uh, so the control objective is we want to bound the tracking error for all time, subject to the state and input magnitude constraints are satisfied. So here we have used the norm constraints x bar and u bar. I have a slight typo here, that will be less than or is equals to the u norm of u is less than is equals to u bar. So x bar and u bar are our user defined constraints, and we want to ensure that the system state and control input will be within this bound for all time. Now we are assuming that the controller parameters kx and kr are bounded by this kx bar and kr bar, and kx bar and kr bar are assumed to be known. This might sound conservative because we are claiming that we don't know the uncertainty and we know the bound of the uncertainty we have, but there can be some ways in real systems where we can know some conservative upper bound of kx bar and kr bar, but we won't be using this bounds in the control law itself. This will be used in the feasibility condition. So the control law won't be conservative like the robust control methods. Another assumption which we make, this is also a standard assumption, that the reference model states will be within the safe set. That is, the reference which we want to track will also be within the safe set which we are defining. So provided this norm of XRT will be within X bar, which is, and here XR bar is assumed to be like, it is known. And the next assumption is initially we are considering the error will be within the safe set. This is also a standard assumption for Beria-Lyapunov function or any safety certificates like CBF. We have to start within the safe set to guarantee the forward invariance of the set. Yeah. Sorry. I'm not. Is R of T and ensuring invariance of the state, the reference model? R of T. Yes, reference. Yes, yes. So we are assuming the reference R of T will be such that the reference model will be inside the safe set. The reference model state. Reference model state. So this assumption will be satisfied. Now, provided this assumption, we can translate our constraints on the plan state to the constraint on the tracking error. So if our reference model is bounded by this smaller region XR bar, and we want to bound our plan state within X bar, then if we can guarantee that error will be within xi, here xi is basically the difference between X bar minus XR bar. So if we can satisfy the error constraint is met, then that automatically implies the state constraint is met because my reference is always within my safe set. Now, how does Beria-Lyapunov function handle constraints? It is basically a Lyapunov-like function, which is 0 at the origin and which is positive definite. And as the constraint states approaches the boundary of the safe set, you can see from this expression, Beria-Lyapunov function will approach infinite. So if we start within the safe set, which was our assumption, and if we can prove that V dot is bounded, that means that V is never blown up, which means that our constraints are satisfied for all time. So we had used BLF, which we will show later for the state constraint satisfaction. And for the input constraint satisfaction, we have used a saturated feedback controller. There, the auxiliary control input VT is, so earlier in classical MDAC, we had used UT like in this structure. Here we have considered an auxiliary control input VT and used a saturated feedback law such that norm of ut will be within this u bar. So the input constraints will meet for all time. But for doing that, our closed loop dynamics, which was earlier only these two terms, will now add two extra terms. One is D, which is coming due to the disturbance. Another is B delta U, which is coming due to the input saturation or saturation error. So delta U is basically the difference between U minus V. So now how to deal this B delta U term in the Lyapunov analysis? We can consider this B delta U term as a disturbance, and to mitigate this effect of this saturation error term, we need to know the bound of delta U. So what is delta U? It is basically the difference between the provided control effort, means the actuator limit you have, minus a required control input, which we need to satisfy our control objective. So there can be two cases where the required control input is less than the provided control input. There we don't have any problem. Delta U is equals to 0 and input constraint is always met. And the second case where the required control input is more than the provided control input. There delta U will be bounded by this quantity you can see. And here we will need the bound Kx bar and Kr bar. This bound will be used in the feasibility condition, which we will derive later. So in the Lyapunov analysis, earlier we only had E transpose PE in the classical MDAC. Now instead of that, we are using a Beria-Lyapunov function. The Beria-Lyapunov function will deal with the state constraint. You can see this, here we have considered BLF on the error instead of state. So if the error constraint is met, we can prove that eventually the state constraint will also be met. So in the Lyapunov analysis, again, we are having this terms B delta U and D. So if you have this adaptive update law, we have used the projection-based adaptive update law such that the Kx norm of Kx hat will be bounded within a compact and convex set, which is Kx bar. So that is why we required that assumption that the actual controller parameter Kx is bounded and the bound is known, so that we can bound this Kx hat. It is a disturbance. Yeah. So we have employed the adaptive update law and we have considered case 2 where delta U has a non-zero value. And we can prove that V dot will have this structure. So now you can see if this highlighted region is positive, then we can get a negative semi-definite result. From there, we will have a feasibility condition which we need to meet. So I have analyzed how this feasibility condition is coming. So basically, you can see for all cases, if this main feasibility condition is satisfied, then we can prove that V dot is negative semi-definite. I'm not going into the details of this analysis. So you can see this is our main feasibility condition, which is a sufficient condition. That's why it might be conservative because it has this Kx bar term, which can be conservative. So this feasibility condition is offline verifiable. We can know a priori whether our control, we have enough control authority to meet the state constraints and deal with the disturbances and parametric uncertainties. So it also establishes a nice relation between U bar, X bar, D bar, XR bar. So yeah. So yeah, sir, Kx bar and Kr bar are in our hand, but the true true Kx we don't know, right? So Kx bar can be a conservative upper bound of Kx. So if Kx bar value is very high, this lower bound will be very high. So that is why this feasibility condition is sufficient condition. But since we can guarantee a priori and offline, that is the trade-off of this feasibility condition. So we are now working on how to reduce the conservatism of this condition. Yeah. Yes.
So how can guarantee that during the update case we are always bounded by this case now?
That is why we are using projection-based update law, sir. So the provided the feasibility condition is satisfied, we can prove a negative semi-definite result. And as I have discussed earlier, that how we can guarantee from the error constraint satisfaction, we can guarantee the state constraints are eventually satisfied for all time. So the summary of the result is provided the assumptions hold. The proposed law ensures the state and input constraint satisfaction, and all the closed loop signals remain bounded if this offline verifiable feasibility condition is satisfied. Here is a small insight about the feasibility condition, that if we see the feasibility condition, it is in the form U bar is equals to alpha 0 x bar plus beta 0. Beta 0 is always positive and alpha 0 can be positive, can be negative. Alpha 0 was basically kx bar minus eta term. So we don't know the sign of alpha 0 beforehand. So if we increase beta 0, it will be beta 0. If we increase this beta 0 or beta, our feasibility region will shrink. Basically, U bar will have a larger lower bound. And the feasibility region will depend on the sign of alpha. If alpha is positive, then the feasibility region will be smaller than alpha is negative. So alpha is negative means this term is more than kx bar, and alpha is positive means kx bar is more than is greater than this term. So basically, the uncertainty in the dynamics is more. Intuitively, it means, and there the feasibility region will be much lower than the where the uncertainty is smaller. So that depends on sorry, what is your question?
State constraint x bar being larger means I have a larger state.
Right.
Means I could use a smaller control for state. So U bar should be decreasing.
So the relation between U bar and X bar depends on the sign of alpha 0, you can see. So if alpha 0 is positive, then only if X bar increases. Here the relation was actually between U bar and the constraint on the error. I have translated it into the constraint on state. So if you analyze this from the point of view of the error, so if error is more, we can start from, like in BLF, we can initially the error can be more, right? We can start from a very large error set, and then we need more control effort. So, and the vice versa. So this is a brief summary of what we wanted to do. So if the user provides me X bar and U bar, I will first check whether it is feasible or not. If it is infeasible, we cannot run the controller. If it is feasible, this is the controller structure. We can see compared to the classical MBRAC, we have modified the update law. Here I have used projection, and the denominator part has the BLF based adaptive update law. And we have also used saturated controller to deal with the input constraints. So KR is basically said B, KR is equals to BR. B is known, BR is known.
Denominator, theta, xi dash, what is this?
Xi dash was xi into root over lambda mean P. It is basically to deal with this P. Yeah.
For when you're not actual system is just ARX plus VRR plus D.
Actual system is X dot is equals to X plus BX PU plus D.
Yeah. Reference AR is A, BR is B.
No.
There is no distance.
No. Reference is A plus B, KX will satisfy AR, and B KR will satisfy BR.
This proof you did not have different AR, but the same AR, BR is the actual system.
Same AR, BR.
I thought you just considered extra disturbance for that.
No. So
A
is unknown, completely unknown. Yeah.
We have further you need some issue condition.
Yes.
So can you start from anywhere for the KX? Or you need some sort of.
For the KX, we can start anywhere within the KX bar set.
So how can how varying if you go larger and larger? How will it affect your control?
It cannot be larger, right? Because
I mean, within the KR model, sir, if you go smaller to, let's say, if you start from 0 to KR bar, will this affect your control, like controller performance?
The performance can be varied, but since it is bounded within the known bound KX bar, it won't be like affect much. So this is a very plain and simple simulation result where we have considered unstable LTI plant under a stable reference model. And we have considered the bound on X bar to be 6.65 and U bar to be 12. And we also assume that initially the states start within the safe set. So basically, we show that the tracking performance, the system will plant state will track the reference trajectory while maintaining the state and input constraint even in the presence of disturbances. The constraints are met. But you can see the result can be conservative because we have used fixed bound throughout our control, throughout the time. So this result can be improved and we will come to that in the next slide. So basically to summarize this part of the work, we have considered an MRAC for uncertain NEMO LTI systems, which ensure satisfaction of state and input constraints. And we have also derived an offline verifiable feasibility condition. So you can see in the simulation, the result can be conservative because we have used a fixed bound throughout. So is it practical to impose this uniform constraint bounds across both transient state where error can be larger and steady state where error can be much lower? So more flexible way is to consider a time varying bound. So we will have a larger error, we will account for larger error in the transient and the error margin will shrink as we go to the steady state. So there comes the concept of time varying safe set. So now our problem, yeah, sure.
This was like, well, I get the constraint.
Yes.
That is solved using the Lyapunov variable. So you have another method for constraints and then one you have after methods for. So what are the challenges when you combine these? What was the main challenge?
So the main challenge, you mean while combining the methods, the combining state constraint part like BLF with MRAC was not very difficult. It is BLF can be easily integrated in the Lyapunov function. As you could see, the Lyapunov function was BLF itself. So combining MRAC with BLF is not much challenging, but the problem arrived when we considered input constraint. So in presence of input constraint, we actually like how to come up with a feasibility condition such that the state and input constraint both will be satisfied. So the state constraint part was not much difficult, but handling input constraint along with the state constraint part and having an offline verifiable feasibility condition was difficult. Yes.
Are there any other techniques or?
So as I have mentioned, the command filter approach is there, the anti-bind up strategy is there. We are currently working how to integrate because you can see there is conservatism in the feasibility condition. So we are working if other input constraint method can be used to reduce this conservatism in the feasibility condition. So here our control objective is we want to bound our state and input within time varying safe set. And this safe sets phi x and phi u are user defined. So the controller structure and everything will be similar. Assumptions are also similar. We are assuming that the reference model states are bounded such that they will be within the user defined safe set which we define for the states for all time. And provided this assumption is satisfied, we can convert our constraints from the state to the error. So basically, if we satisfy this error constraint, it will eventually guarantee that the state constraints are satisfied. So now we can see an extra term in the auxiliary control input, which comes to deal with the time varying part. This is dependent on the rate of change of the time varying error constraint. So, and we have considered B to be full column rank. That is why this inverse exists. The saturated feedback controller has the same structure, only we will have this term to deal with the time varying part. And similarly, in the closed loop aerodynamics, along with this B delta U and D term, we will have this extra term. So we have now how to deal with this time varying constraint. For that, I have used a time varying Beria-Lyapunov function. The concept is same. If we start within the time varying safe set, and if we can prove that V dot is bounded, it automatically satisfies the time varying constraints. So this AT here is our user defined constraint. So AT can be anything, it just needs to be positive. You can see in this plots also, this blue region is a time varying constraint compared to this yellow region is a fixed constraint. So this blue one is obviously less conservative than this fixed bound BLF.
What's alpha?
So alpha is basically, this is A, this will be A, yeah. Yeah, so another interesting fact that if this time, so you can see the time varying constraint can be anything. It can be a sinusoidal constraint, it can be an exponentially converging constraint. But if we design this time varying safe set to be exponentially decaying function, it actually subsumes the funnel based control and prescribed performance control. So the problem with classical funnel-based control or PPC is that it typically does not consider input constraint and it has an online verifiable feasibility condition. So we cannot know a priori whether the constraints will be feasible or not. But there are certain wars where the funnel-based control and PPC uses input constraints. But the problem with those methods are that for funnel-based control with input saturation, whenever the saturation is there, the funnel itself gets modified to account for the saturation. Similarly, for PPC, if the input constraint is activated, the reference model gets modified in this work. So if we don't want to modify our nominal reference model or the funnel, what we prescribe for our safe set, we cannot use these methods. And it does not directly impose constraints, the PPC with input constraint. It considers the tracking error will converge within a time varying safe set. So it does not directly impose constraints on the plant state. And they consider the fixed input bound. So our method will be a more general tool where we consider constraints, the time varying constraints on both plant state and control input. So the Lyapunov analysis will be similar. I'm not repeating all these things. We are again using a projection based update law to satisfy the error constraints and eventually the state constraints. And this is the feasibility condition we have for the time varying constraints. So you can see this extra term is there in the time varying part where the feasibility condition, the control authority we have is dependent on the rate of change of the safe set that we define. And it also establishes a similar kind of interrelationship between the control authority and the time varying state constraint. And if these time varying constraints are fixed, this is a special, like the fixed bound result, which I have earlier presented, will be a special case of this result. So if this feasibility condition is satisfied and all the assumptions hold, we can guarantee satisfaction of state and input constraints and all the closed loop signals will be bounded. Here also I have used an unstable LTI plant and a stable reference model, and I have defined some envelope for the error and input which we will guarantee that state, the error and the input will remain within. So we can see the plant states are bounded within the time varying region, and the error is also bounded in this exponentially decaying safe set, while maintaining these constraints on the control input also. So to summarize, we have developed an MRAC framework for MIMO LTI system to consider time varying state and input constraints. And here also we have derived an offline verifiable feasibility condition in presence of parametric uncertainties and disturbances. Now, I have extended this framework to uncertain EL systems. I will not go much deeper or like in detail in this part. So the framework which we developed from MRAC is just extended to for this Euler-Lagrange plant. Here also I have considered this disturbance in the bounded disturbance in the EL plant. So
the disturbance in the input channel.
Yes, yes. So sorry, here the disturbance can be unmatched, right? So because there's not.
Can the disturbance be in states Q and Q dot?
I have considered only time dependent disturbance, not state dependent disturbances.
Even then, say.
So Q1.
It's going to be written as x1 dot equal to x2 and x2 dot equal to f of x plus 3 of x equal to
Right.
23. So the question is, can I write this as x2 dot equal to f of x plus 3 of x into q plus d, which is separate. D is of having an order of x2, whatever.
Yeah, that is what it is. Huh. And we are considering this M, VQ, VM, GR, FD are unknown.
Oh.
So the uncertainty is different. This is external disturbance. So the control objective is that the states Q will track QD and state Q, I mean the error between Q and QD and Q dot and QD dot will be bounded. We are not ensuring asymptotic tracking. And we are considering the state constraints on both position and velocity as well as the torque. Here this phi, so here first I have shown the time varying case, and later I will just show that why like how this time varying case will be a more general case for the fixed bound case. So similarly, I have used an auxiliary control input and a saturated feedback controller to have a closed loop dynamics like this. So here this y is the regressor and theta is a known parameter vector. So y theta can have this structure like this. I have used the analogy of the filter tracking error. R is the filter tracking error here. So R is basically E dot plus alpha E. Since we have constraints on both E and E dot, instead of considering separate constraints, we are having a single constraint on R. So we will show if the bound on R is satisfied, the bound on E and E dot, and subsequently the bound on Q and Q dot will also be satisfied. So the closed loop error dynamics here also is.
So here FD is known.
FD is unknown.
So this is y.
So y theta is the known structure of this. So here, if theta is known, it will be this. But if theta is unknown, here you can see in the auxiliary control input, we are having theta hat.
So how you are like if theta is unknown, how you are estimating theta?
So there I will have later a parameter update law.
And what is the difference between theta hat and theta tilde?
Theta tilde is the estimation error, which is the difference between theta hat and theta.
Oh.
Yeah.
So here theta structure, theta is a list of basis function kind of.
Right.
But say for
so theta is the parameter vector and y is the regressor, which is known. So parameter in the sense is M, VM, GR, Q, these are unknown. So theta is the unknown part.
Okay.
And y is the known part. Y contains these terms alpha E dot minus Q T double dot. So once you have the structure of
the young matrix.
right. We'll have
those.
right.
So then how do you
So it will depend on the M, VM, GR and FT, how the structure of Y and theta will be.
Suppose you take L1 sin
Like this.
Then you have
Ah.
L1 L2 multiplied by sin L1 sin.
So you take sin.
So all the known parts will be in Y, all the unknown parts will be in
Because
theta.
no L1 and L2 are coming as linear. Then
Ah,
you
okay.
take same thing in terms of.
This is maybe because we want theta to be constants.
Yes.
But how will it, won't it be scaled up as you are going dimensionally? Let's say from 2 down to 7 down.
Hmm.
Will it scale up like? Scale
Theta.
up in the sense like, let's say you have good of
Hmm.
which means you have lesser number of parameters.
Yes, it will.
But
be.
now
Ah,
we are
ah, ah,
increasing your
yeah,
dimension.
yeah, true. So we will have more parameters
Yes.
in theta. Yeah. So here I've explained that I had earlier constraints on our plan state. These are our original constraints. And we are having the assumption that our reference model is within the safe set. We are converting the constraints on the tracking error. And from there, we will convert the constraint further into the filter tracking error R, which is basically defined as E dot plus alpha. Alpha is a constant. So how we are converting the constraints from state to the trajectory tracking error? This is through that assumption that the reference is within the safe set. And the next assumption, which is how we are converting constraints on the trajectory tracking error to filter tracking error. So that is assumption. It's kind of a filter, like the structure you can see R is equals to E dot plus alpha.
Sliding mode kind of thing it is coming.
When you are getting your position and velocity as a single velocity.
But why filter?
You are figuring the position values to
So
fit to your
The
velocity.
structure of the dynamics is kind of a filter. So the assumption 6 is basically to convert the constraints on the error, trajectory tracking error to filter tracking error. We have certain assumption on the initial value of E and R to convert the and kappa, which is this will be higher. So if these assumptions are satisfied, we can basically convert our constraints from E and E dot to R. And why this is needed? First, because of the error transformation, and second, because this assumption is needed to satisfy the constraint by using BLF. So in BLF, we need to have our error state to be within the safe set. So satisfying the constraint on the filter tracking error will satisfy the constraint on the trajectory tracking error, and satisfy this will imply the state constraint satisfaction. So in the Lyapunov analysis, we have considered a positive definite Lyapunov function, and it also have a similar structure. Like in the denominator, we have terms of BLF, and provided this adaptive update law is satisfied, here also I have used a projection based adaptive update law, and I have assumed that the unknown parameter vector theta. So norm of theta is bounded by theta bar, and we have assumed theta bar is known. So if we use this adaptive update law, we will have the structure of V dot. And if this will become a feasibility condition eventually, and if this feasibility condition is satisfied, then V dot will be negative semi-definite. Yes.
Next statement.
So if this offline verifiable sufficient feasibility condition is met, then we can say that state and input are within time varying envelopes, and all the closed loop signals will remain bounded. So for a special case, the special case is a time invariant case where this term phi r dot will be 0. And we will have this condition where we can guarantee that state and input will be within a fixed bound. Here phi q and phi v, phi tau are not time varying. So we have verified this result in 2D of helicopter model. We have considered constraints on the position error, velocity error, and the torque. And these are the time varying envelopes which we have considered. And we will show that our errors and the torque will be within these time varying envelopes for all time. So you can see the tracking performance and in pitch and yaw, there is some noise due to the there are some noisy measurements here.
So what is the area of the noise?
Huh?
Noise model input.
I have not used any noise model to to account for the noise. So this is experimental result, not simulation result.
Oh.
So we can see the AE and E dot both are bounded by time varying envelopes, and also the torque will remain bounded for all time. So we developed an adaptive control framework for EL systems, which ensure the time varying state and input constraint satisfaction in presence of parametric uncertainties and disturbances. And also we have derived an offline verifiable feasibility condition, which certifies the existence of a control policy for any given state and input constraints. So yeah, that is was a part of my research. We have also extended to consider constraints on both input magnitude and input rate, but I have not included that part here. Yeah, so thank you. And if you have any further questions.
Then go to slide number 4. I actually had doubt.
2.
I think it was 2.
This one or this one?
No, go ahead. Where you are given control.
MRAC.
Yeah, this. Here, but it's 8 tilde.
So KX tilde, right?
Yes.
This one. Kx tilde is basically the parameter estimation error, as same as theta tilde. So the actual parameter is Kx. We are estimating Kx hat. It is basically the difference between the estimation and the actual parameter.
So both Kx and Kx hat is known.
No, Kx is unknown to us. Okay. Kx hat is known to us. We are estimating Kx.
So what's Kx? Here the model I see Kx.
So Kx is basically the controller parameter. So in the control law, if you consider both A and B are known, then we will have Kxx plus KRR, right? And we will use this in the closed loop dynamics, and we will have a nice term ARE. Will not have this term BKX tilde x. But since Kx is not known to us, we are using an estimate Kx hat. You can Kx is basically a controller parameter which will solve this matching condition. A plus B Kx is equals to AR. From there, you can have the actual value of Kx if A and B are known. Asymmetric bill. Huh. Huh, you can-
I only start with one line.
I think the controller structure can be modified, but we can actually extend this work to consider asymmetric constraints as well. No, I don't have a paper considering asymmetric constraints yet. Only consider symmetric constraints and not time invariant constraints. Yeah. For time varying part, I have considered if the constraints and time varying, but for asymmetric part, I have not yet worked that out. So
I think there is a maybe a chance.
there can be.
Any other questions? Let us thank the speakers. Thank you.
infinite.